If you've read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits Highly Effective People, then you're familiar with something that you might also know as the Eisenhower Matrix. The idea is that you prioritize what you're going to do in 2 dimensions. The first dimension is to identify what's important, and the second dimension is to identify what's urgent. And when you prioritize in 2 dimensions rather than one, it helps you segment out between the tasks that you've been procrastinating on. They're not an emergency, but you got to take care of them. Those are the important ones, but not urgent. So Covey does this whole thing about what to do after you've identified important and urgent. But what Covey doesn't do is teach you how to do the identification. What is urgent? What is important? And this has come up in several of the conversations that I've been having this week. Urgency is easy. Time to consequences. The shorter the time to consequences, the more urgent. So you might ask your dentist, how long can I go without a teeth cleaning before I get a toothache? Your dentist might say, well, I don't know, if you brush and floss, you could go years. It's important, but it's not urgent. Urgency is time to consequences. Importance is more difficult. Here's the way I think about it. You set it up into 3 categories. The least important, the things that you're apathetic about, you just don't care. And hopefully you get those out of your life. And then one category up in importance, a little bit more important, is what you do to avoid punishment. Most of us spend most of our lives in the avoid punishment, and there are good reasons for it. When you work in a corporate or a bureaucratic setting, the institution structures around you to create fear of punishment. Fear of punishment is a much more reliable mechanism of control than love. People in love do crazy things, but people who are afraid to be punished, they're predictable and they're reliable. The bureaucracy will keep you in a constant state of fear of punishment. The corporation, the institution, the legal system, the school in which your children or you go will organize themselves around all of the punishments and remind you of which they want you to be afraid. It is people who are afraid, who are predictable, who behave inside the machinery of the institution in the ways that serve the needs of the institution, not the needs of the people. So in the middle, avoid punishment. And we spend a lot of time there. So what's more important than avoid punishment? Up there we have your dreams. Not like your REM sleep dreams, but the vision of the life that you want to lead. That's what's important. When you prioritize your time, the challenge is for you to think about, how much energy do I invest in moving towards a closer approximation of my dreams? How much of my energy goes into avoiding punishment? And how much of it goes into making my dreams come true? Most of us struggle to feel like we have the freedom to make our dreams come true. We get so out of touch with what our dreams are. And we get so afraid to work towards making them come true that we forget. We forget what's important. And we pretend that what's really important is avoiding punishment. It's not. When you hear people say, I only have 8 more years to retirement, they're living in avoid punishment. When you hear people say, well, I'm going to buy my second investment property so that I can live off the rents and make my money work for me harder than I'm working for my money. They've lost sight of their dreams. They're thinking about ways that they can avoid the punishment of the jobs that don't set them on fire. So why do we settle for lives of avoiding punishment instead of lives that work towards a closer approximation of our dreams. Andy Andrews says he knows why people don't burn the boats. He says it's fear of criticism. And I think he's got a good point. What if I quit my 9 to 5 and started my own business and fell on my face, lost all my money, became bankrupt? Then what would my sister say? What an idiot he is. I'd be humiliated in front of the people who learned to humiliate me when I was a kid. I don't want to do that. So I live in a world of avoid punishment instead of a closer approximation of my dreams. But I saw Joe Dispenza say something recently. He was talking about procrastination, or he was talking about why people don't do the really difficult things that they know that they want, but they don't feel like doing. He said it's because they predict the negative emotions that they're going to experience in the future. And they make choices that avoid those predicted emotions. And I thought Dispenza had a good point too. So I'm going to ask you, how much of your energy goes into avoiding punishment compared to making a closer approximation of your dreams?